Earlier this year, the Danish equivalent of the BBC, the Danish Broadcasting Corporation, known as DR, got into trouble over the release of a documentary called Greenland's White Gold. It came out just a few weeks after Donald Trump Jr. visited Greenland, and when I went to Greenland recently for the London Review of Books, people were still talking about it. It clearly had a big influence on the debate about Greenland's relationship to Denmark. The documentary is about a Danish-owned mine that operated at Ivitut in southwestern Greenland from 1859 to 1987. The mine yielded cryolite, a rare mineral that made it possible for the first time to mass produce aluminium. During the Second World War, when Denmark was occupied by the Nazis, US troops occupied Greenland, partly to secure the air bridge to Britain, but mainly to protect Ivitut cryolite, which was used to smelt the aluminium for thousands of Allied warplanes. After the war, the mine was handed back to its Danish shareholders, along with its wartime earnings, and eventually came to be part-owned by the Danish state. In the film, two Danish researchers, Naja Grogard and Marie-Louise Jensen, examine the archived account books of the cryolite company to tot up how much money, in modern terms, the mine and factory made, and how this figure compares to the amount the Danish government has spent on Greenland over the years, eventually concluding that over its lifetime, the cryolite resource yielded 400 billion kroner in today's money, equivalent to 45 billion pounds. Not surprisingly, the idea of the colonial power quietly shipping billions of kroner out of the country for its own benefit incensed Greenlanders. What made things worse was the hostility to the documentary in Denmark, where popular wisdom has it that Greenland is nothing but a drain on the Danish treasury. Danes claimed that the filmmakers had misrepresented the figures. 400 billion kroner wasn't the profit from the mine, but the turnover before expenses were deducted. DR ended up pulling the film from its website 10 days after it came out and reportedly sacked the editor responsible. Greenlanders were further provoked when a satire show on DR, Close to the Truth, ran a segment called Greenland's Brown Ice, mocking Greenland's white gold. Most Greenlanders are ethnically Inuit, and in the sketch, a parody of Naja Grogard investigates sales of an iced lolly called Giant Eskimo, which was a real and popular thing in Denmark until 2021, when its manufacturers accepted that Inuit people found the word Eskimo to be derogatory. In the skit, parody Grogard asks the child how many lollies she could eat.
1 million.
1 million. Parody Grogard then multiplies that by the number of children in Denmark and weeps that the Danes have ripped Greenland off to the tune of 1 trillion kroner. Greenlanders who complained in the comments were accused by Danes of failing to see that DR was the butt of the joke. All this meant that Donald Trump's aggressive demands for America to take over Greenland landed in a country that was already disenchanted with the people who took over Greenland 300 years ago, the Danes.
You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it.
Officially, Denmark doesn't see itself as having a colonial relationship with Greenland anymore. Supposedly that ended in 1952 when, without Greenland's consent, Denmark incorporated Greenland into its kingdom, making Greenlanders equal citizens with Danes, though it's an autonomous territory and has its own legislature. But one curious effect of Trump's threats was to highlight the paradox of it being for Denmark to defend Greenland's freedom, when it's Denmark's ownership of Greenland that makes the country unfree in the eyes of many Greenlanders.
Jamen, Grønland er grønlændernes, og Grønland er en del af det danske kongerige, og det kommer ikke til at ændre sig. Jeg synes, at mange grønlandske politikere efterhånden nu, både før valgkamp, i valgkamp og også nu, er meget, meget, meget klare i spyttet, at Grønland ønsker at være Grønland, og det bakker vi fuldstændig op om.
In the general election in Greenland in March this year, all the main parties claimed to want independence from Denmark. The party that got the most votes were the Democrats, led by Jens Frederik Nielsen, who are Thatcherites with a Scandinavian twist. They won 10 of the 31 seats in the legislature. The Democrats are generally seen as a Denmark-facing party, but interestingly, in their original election platform, they were very positive about American involvement in Greenland's future. They talked about a free association agreement with both Denmark and the US. But just 2 days after the election, in a meeting with the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, Trump again demanded possession of Greenland.
We really need Greenland for national security. It's very important. You know, we have
2 days after that, Nielsen, the Prime Minister in waiting, led a demonstration affirming Greenlandic nationhood to the US consulate in Nuuk. If Trump had just been able to restrain himself while the new Democrat-led government got its feet under the table, perhaps he would have got a better reception. The rationalizations we tend to hear for Trump's designs on Greenland don't really make a lot of sense. One you hear most frequently is that America needs Greenland for its national security, that America's enemies, notably Russia, have designs on the island which guards the approaches from the Russian Arctic over the pole to North America and the Atlantic. It's true that on a map with the North Pole at its center, the world looks very different to the cartography we're used to. Russia, stretching across the whole of one long side, faces Alaska, northern Canada, Greenland and Iceland directly across a rapidly thawing polar ocean. It's also true that Russia has either built or renewed a string of military bases along its Arctic rim opposite America, and that Denmark has virtually no military presence in or around Greenland. But America already has a military base in Greenland, Pituffik. There's nothing to stop the US enlarging it, and an existing treaty with Denmark gives Washington pretty much carte blanche to create more. In the unlikely event America gets its act together to build its promised new fleet of military icebreakers, they will operate with or without the stars and stripes flying over the ice cap. Owning the land won't make America safer. And if America considers Russia a growing threat, why does Trump work so hard to help Putin wind up his invasion of Ukraine on Russia's terms, to bully and threaten allies challenging Russia, and bring NATO to the brink of collapse? The other rationalization is that Greenland possesses a unique trove of valuable minerals the US needs to reduce its dependence on China and other supposedly unreliable near-monopoly suppliers. As we've seen, it used to be that Greenland was home to cryolite, but that's been available synthetically since the 1930s. If there was some other rare and essential mineral that was found almost nowhere else, there's no reason why an American firm couldn't exploit it now without America owning the country. That's the model of investment and exploitation that has served American capital well since the 19th century. Really, the only way for America to break Chinese dominance in minerals, particularly rare earths, is to invest government money in both mines and the more complex, valuable business of processing the metals. Besides, if American firms were to get big new subsidies to do this, they get some already, why would they do it in Greenland when there are more readily accessible deposits elsewhere, including the US itself? Which does beg the question, why is Trump so obsessed with Greenland? "I do it to do it. Deals are my art form," his ghostwriter has him say in line 2 of The Art of the Deal. Or perhaps there's some relationship to his family history in the North. His mother was a native Gaelic speaker from Lewis in the Hebrides. His grandfather ran a hotel in northern Canada during the Klondike Gold Rush. It's also true that Trump has a penchant for the aesthetics of the conceptual, a deep attachment to symbols of power and identity, to flags and colors, and in particular to shapes on maps. For Trump, all sorts of things are perfect and beautiful. The reserves of oil under American soil, or the ocean separating America from Europe. The urge to possess Greenland, could it be a kind of geopolitical coloring in, where the map is not the notation of a changed political reality, but it is the changed political reality that allows the map to be colored in to one's satisfaction, so that nothing spoils the beauty of the image.